Hey guys, so ovulation tests for cycle number 7 kind of strang along a bit. So I started testing a little bit earlier and I ended up ovulating later. So let's have a look at these tests and then we can get into the rambling. So as per usual, I used the strips from First Response as well as my Clear Blue Digital. These strips are actually kind of being swapped out for these ones from First Response. So I started testing with these and ended up with the other ones. So I started testing from cycle day 7, not wanting to miss my surge, and it turns out that there was no way I was going to miss it because I reached cycle day, what is it, like cycle day 15, cycle day 16, kind of started getting darker. So this is where I changed boxes. So this one is from the previous box, and from this point down, it's from my second box of OBKs. There's more ink for whatever reason. So up around here, I started getting egg white CM. So cycle day 12 and 13, I had quite a bit of egg white CM, like a lot, and then it completely dried up, cycle day 14. So I was expecting ovulation, but I got nothing. The tests like kind of got darker here, but again, I was not getting any positive. So I then had to move over to these guys. Now, cycle day 17, I got this result, and this for me was like almost positive. Not a positive, but almost, like practically there. And then the next day, cycle day 18, it was like practically nothing. And the funny thing with this was first morning urine and the same sample I used with my Clear Blue Digital, and I got my smiley face. So I got a smiley face and yet a negative. So I don't know how that kind of happened. And then the next day, cycle day 19, with first morning urine again, I got my blazing positive OPK on these fellas. So I don't know how that kind of worked out with the same sample getting a smiley face but a negative, and then the next day this one, I don't know what happened there. And then I continued using these just to make sure it was getting lighter and I had no surprises. So it obviously got lighter, thankfully. I'm kind of saying that cycle day 19 is ovulation because I got my smiley face on cycle day 18. And in other cycles, I would usually get a really blazing positive with first morning urine the next day after my digital anyway. But I just don't know why this would be so light, and I would still get the smiley face. It was the same sample, so this confuses me a bit. But yeah, cycle day 19, like, insane much? So when it comes to other signs of ovulation, right around cycle day 12 and 13, I had quite a bit of egg white cervical mucus, and I thought, okay, ovulation is around the corner. Cycle day 15, probably as per usual. Nah. So cycle day 14 and 15, the egg white cervical mucus vanished, leaving nothing behind. I was really unsure as to what happened. Cycle day 15 towards cycle day 16, it was kind of creamy. And then from cycle day 16 moving forward, right up until yesterday, cycle day 20, I had a ton of egg white cervical mucus, like a lot. I know this is TMI, but a lot. So I ovulated way later than I expected, which kind of is curious because I have a 13-day luteal phase and I have never ovulated this late. I have never, like, I don't remember the last time I had a cycle that was longer than 30 days. Usually 29 is the longest for me, but yeah. So I'm curious to see if I'll have my normal 13-day luteal phase. As far as I know, luteal phases don't change. It's ovulation that changes and changes the length of our cycle. The luteal phase is always the same. So yeah, I don't know. I was very curious as to why I got my smiley face and yet a negative with the same sample, and why I got the positive on the first response the next day. I had cervical mucus like throughout those days, so obviously ovulation did occur. I did feel kind of crampy on cycle day 18 and 19, so I don't know. Yeah, Mama? What's wrong? So I don't know, guys. As far as I can tell, I have ovulated, and yeah, it's been an odd cycle. We've all been sick. My husband had an accident at work. Everything has kind of been, I mean, we were still trying, but at the same time, it wasn't like the main focus at all. We kind of tried when we could and if we wanted to, if we felt like it. So it's a funny cycle, and I'm curious to see how it ends up. I will have to say though, I did have a ton of cervical mucus, egg white cervical mucus. I have never seen so much, guys. I've never seen so much. So I feel like my fertility is like off the charts. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting cycle. As far as pregnancy tests, I'm probably going to start at 9 DPO, which is next Monday. I feel like 8 DPO is early. I feel like 7 DPO is way early. And even 9 DPO, I'm just going to kind of go with how I feel. If I don't feel like testing, I won't test, basically. Because it's kind of, you know, I feel very weird. And I also don't know which tests to use. I don't really trust First Response at this point, considering I got a blazing positive from Prognosis way before First Response picked up on anything last cycle. So, I don't know. And when I say blazing, please keep in mind the camera doesn't always pick it up so well. So it was very clear as day for me, just clarifying that. We'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to testing, I guess, sort of. It's kind of weird. I'm being very weird, I know. It's a weird cycle for me. I had reached that point where I thought that I wasn't going to be trying because we accomplished it, and then we moved on to another cycle. So, cycle number 7. An odd one, and I won't be, honestly, I won't be disappointed if it's not successful because it was such a weird cycle, such a weird month for us. It doesn't make a difference. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you next week during testing week. I'll also do a live in between. Bye, guys.